They are known for breeding quickly and their capability to eat their own body weight in food every day. Hundreds of billions of desert locusts are set to start wreaking havoc on the farms in the Horn of Africa, Asia, and the Middle East. Meanwhile, the current coronavirus pandemic is affecting the travel of international experts and gatherings meant to discuss combating the looming threat. Although locust invasions are nothing new, it's been decades since swarms of this size were seen in many affected countries.
Nastua tu kwa sababu hatujaona manini kama hii. Na tena ukiingia kwa miti kama hii anamaliza nyasi mpaka hata unastuka hii kitu kiendelea kuenda mbele atamaliza nini nyasi zaidi.
A locust swarm can cover hundreds of square kilometers. It's not uncommon for a swarm to be as big as the size of a major city. And 1 square kilometer can contain at least 40 million locust adults. What's more, in just a single day, these hungry insects can eat the same amount of food that 35,000 human beings would be capable of. And desert locusts are fast. They are known to travel about 130 kilometers a day. The current swarms first originated in the Arabian Peninsula. But unusual heavy rains created good breeding grounds and allowed the locusts to multiply for months without agriculture experts detecting them. They then invaded Yemen, Somalia, and Ethiopia. From there, they spread into other parts of the world. In Kenya and Ethiopia, a majority of the population relies on agriculture for its livelihood. Damaged crops mean less food for families and no income. Pastoralists are suffering too. Locusts have ravaged grazing areas for their cows and goats. The invasion also affects farmers who had planted cash crops like cotton.
If you look at the Horn of Africa, for example, in the last several years, they faced droughts, successive droughts. That's been very devastating on their food security, on livelihoods. This year, they've had floods and heavy rains. That too has, negative impacts. And now on top of that, they have the locust invasions. They have all of these swarms.
The droughts and floods had already caused 20 million people in the region to face hunger. The UN has warned that the current locust outbreak could drive the numbers even higher. Desert locusts are not picky eaters. They eat almost all plants, chewing away leaves, stems, seeds, and barks. Swarms have destroyed acres of staple food crops like corn, millet, beans, and sorghum. It's for these reasons that locusts are referred to as the most destructive migratory pests in the world. The World Food Programme has called on the international community to act now, warning that if no immediate action is taken, it will take more than $1 billion to assist people devastated by the impending invasion. Controlling millions upon millions of locusts is a huge challenge. The current desert locust outbreak took the countries in the Horn of Africa by surprise. Somalia hasn't seen this amount of locusts in the last 25 years. For Kenya, it's the worst outbreak in 70 years. The scale of the locust invasion has overwhelmed these countries. The main measure used to control desert locusts is spraying chemicals that are applied in small, concentrated doses. These are dispensed by sprayers on cars, planes, and sometimes by handheld sprayers. The measures are costly, and countries like Kenya and Somalia neither have the money nor the necessary equipment like planes and protective clothing to be able to combat the problem.
Of course, the challenge is to detect the presence of insects way in advance and make sure that we can organize the right logistic at the ground level. And as always, especially in Africa, the logistic is the main issue, and making sure that we bring the right product at the right time, at the right place, remain a big challenge.
The more time that passes, the more expensive the operation to fight the locusts gets. The UN Food and Agriculture Organization made an appeal for $76 million for the crisis-ridden countries in January. By the end of February, the appeal had to be raised to $138 million. Half of the money is going into control operations, while the other half is spent on securing people's livelihoods. Experts believe that we're in the middle of the crisis and that things will get worse before they get better.
The numbers are still going to increase, certainly in the Horn of Africa, until about June. Thereafter, of course, the rains subside, it becomes dry, the winds will carry the locusts away from Kenya, they will shift up, reinvade Somalia and Ethiopia, they'll probably move into Sudan. From Somalia, they will move across the Indian Ocean to India and Pakistan.
It's a race against time. If the numbers are not kept in check, the UN expects the number of locusts in Somalia to increase up to 400 times until June.